Hello, everyone. Welcome back to TechChill, and today we will have a very interesting discussion and panelists. And our topic today is actually from the passion to success. How the fintechs are developed, what are those new technologies, and what are the future business models that are coming up. And today we have three fantastic panelists from different areas, and we will discuss interesting questions regarding the future business model and where to invest. My name is Marine Krasovska. I am from financial regulator from Latvia, and I'm director of financial innovation department. So I would like to give a chance to introduce our panelists themselves. So please, Cédric, you can start first.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Marine, and super excited to be speaking about the future of fintech here. My passion for startups has started pretty much 20 years ago when I started my first company during my teenage years. And ever since then, I've been infected with the startup bug. I just really like to figure out better how to go from just an idea to a company that's sustainable and growing. And I've done that a few times as a founder, both here in Europe, in the US, and in Asia. And then 2 years ago, decided to start Tomahawk.vc, which is my investment company where we invest in early stage DeFi and fintech ventures.
Thank you. Nauris, please.
Yes, hi, thanks for having me. So my name is Nauris, I'm a CTO at Twino. My daily duties involved all around the IT organization in Twino, like infrastructure development, support, governance, and everything. But also my belief is that every IT guy and girl should also be involved in the business to know better business needs and actually challenge myself to grow and learn a lot of new stuff and be on top of the edge in sense of the knowledge and trends, what's happening in the industry.
Thank you. Yeah, we will talk about it today. Thank you, Nauris. Robert, please.
Yeah, hi, everyone. My name is Robert. I'm co-founder and CPO of Nordigen. In my heart, I would say I'm a builder, right? And one of my passions is obviously build something that has impact, and have a true belief that we have done that in Nordigen. And for those of you who don't know us yet, we are all-in-one banking API. So we do two things. We help people to connect to their bank accounts. We do it all across Europe. You can connect to 1,000 accounts, 1,000 different banks completely free of charge. And then we help people to post-process this information so they can apply it for risk or marketing purposes. So that's in a nutshell who am I and what my passion is.
Fantastic, thank you, Robert. I would like to start that I heard that you are a lot of you, everyone actually is more dealing with the technologies, and there are a lot of different business models, and you are working in a different one. Some of you is in daily basis, some of you is evaluating where to invest. So maybe I would like to start with, okay, so what are those future business models in fintech area? Where are we going? What are those fantastic new fintechs, or where are we going and we will be in 3-5 years? What is your vision? Cédric, please, maybe you can start.
Well, so I think I'm not going to talk about the two business models, the ones relying on PSD2, because I think Roberts will have more input on that. And then Nauris, I think you can talk a bit more about peer-to-peer in general. So I'll just speak about one third category, or maybe a mix of two that I see. One is decentralization, taking out the middleman, building on decentralized infrastructure, providing software that is fully transparent, fair, and unstoppable, immutable. So whether it's something on a smart contract in Ethereum or other platforms, I think that's one. And then second, just embedding fintech in everything else is another trend that we see, where a retail store is now also selling insurance, meaning an e-commerce store is now also selling insurance products. If I order delivery, I might get some additional insurance for that. So we see insurance already embedded in lots of places. And I think going forward, we'll also see peer-to-peer or lending in general, but also peer-to-peer lending embedded in lots of websites and other business models. So I think for me, that's two trends: decentralization and a move towards embedding services. But then maybe Roberts, you could talk a bit more about PSD2, because I find that fascinating, what's happened over the past few years and how it's finally gone live, and the opportunities that gives to founders to build something on top of the financial infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. So PSD2 is one of those acronyms that not everyone knows, but PSD2, or alternatively also referred to as open banking in Europe, is a both regulation initiative across Europe that requires banks to open up access to the information they're sitting on, in particular, like your bank account transactions. So there's a lot of value there. And then there's companies like Nordigen, and I think of us like more like enablers. So we're like, if I would have to use analogies, we're like Google Maps. You're building out a framework to which other services and businesses connect to. And then what we see for enablers like us, we build a platforms where people can build a lot of innovation on top. So I would say that these type of technology changes or regulatory changes, what they have led or the innovation they're bringing to market are, I would say, finally a very customer-centric type of solution. So historically, we have heard about like, large companies like banks saying we want to be customer-centric, but they never really are. They're too big to focus on each and every individual. In our case, what we see, there's a lot of different applications, web-based solutions that are building different type of applications that are tailored to very end customers. So for example, you get tailored insurance type of solutions that are tailored specifically at things you want to insure, being that is like a bike or mobile phone that's never been able to be provided by a large institution. The same applies for payments. So payments historically been a very expensive thing to handle because there's like certain very large, expensive payment gateways that everyone's forced to use. But another thing is, once you drive down the cost of payment, again, you facilitate how people can purchase things and services around the globe. And again, while Nordigen works more on like information layer, there we can see a lot of innovation happening because now you have information that you can capitalize on. For example, now there's companies that can manage your subscriptions based on what subscriptions they can identify in your bank account details, right? So maybe you don't even know that you're paying for Netflix. I hope you do, but maybe you don't. And there's a lot of different subscriptions that are kind of cannibalizing your bank account every month. Then there's different budgeting applications. So how you can really manage your finances more in more smart way. And finally, even down to all, I would say, everyday banking type of solutions you get. So now that I have more information about you, I can actually give you a better estimate on what your interest rate should be. So instead of being overpriced by different companies and different banks, now that I have more information about you, I can actually get a more precise estimate on how risky you are, which obviously benefits huge. Yeah, sure, Cédric.
So I have a question about that because because it's a bit controversial, right? Because in the past, what we've seen with the ad business is that at the beginning, Google and all the other platforms, they would show us the same banner independent of who we are. And now that Facebook and Instagram and everyone else knows so much about us, you could make the argument that we get better ads, but you could also say it's mostly better for the businesses that are running these ads. And so the question I have is now, on one hand, we see a democratization of all this data and all the financial applications that the everyday man has access to. At the same time, now that this data is available, you could also say, I introduce customer-based pricing, right? Where if I want to buy an insurance and the company sees that my salary is only 5,000 euros a month or 2,000 euros a month versus someone else that makes 20,000 euros a month, the company might take that, or the insurance company might take that into the equation and give me a higher premium compared to someone else. I'm just wondering if you, and I'm not as deep with the regulations as you may be, so maybe this has already been taken care of, but it's just something that came to mind that I was wondering if either of you has an idea about.
Yeah, it's a very solid question. And I would say the reason why you get overpriced solutions now is because people lack information about you. The reason why, and this is something where Nauris could comment more, obviously, is at least in lending, a lot of people get their loans rejected because you don't have enough information to support this client. If you have more information sources like your bank account, you actually get different data points like your salary, some good behaviors where you can how you can justify actually giving this client a loan. And again, maybe it's not necessarily gonna bring down the price for in the larger institutions, how they're going to price their clients. But that's why I mentioned that you get these tailored type of services that will going to be able to take different segments out of those large chunks and then price them better. So I would say that still on average, I would expect the price should go down. And the main factor would be just because if you have more information, you would actually, instead of punishing some bad people, you'd actually be being able to price better the ones that are punished actually at the moment.
Thanks. Yeah, I think it's very valuable, this customization directly, what customers need, what customers get, it goes more and more in the industry. Nauris, how it is in your industry? Do you see the same trends that actually this customization and availability of information for the customer, is it so crucial? What would be in your area?
Yeah, sure. It's very crucial. And that's also what Twino has worked towards, that we actually try to differentiate our customer segments. We try to get as much different data sources, not only like in traditional way to evaluate them, but actually check from different and actually not even related data sources. For example, of the screen of the monitor, you can also try to allocate what understand, is this customer will be good behavior or actually he will default, and you can try to kind of connect these dots from different data sources. You have to look for this, and you have to actually customize your offering. Otherwise, your offer will be just one of the many which a customer will not be interested in, and he can look in different. And there are a lot of startups which are working in this way. And so you have to kind of create this customization to give very, very special attitude towards your customer. Otherwise, you will lose it. And there are a lot of options out there.
Yeah, thanks. And what about this stuff then when you are customizing your products and you are targeting directly customers and working with the data, will it ask to use different kind of technologies or new technologies? What would be those maybe key technologies that are using in order to satisfy the customer needs, to make the needs more tailor-made in the end?
Yeah, I think the technologies haven't, like big names hasn't changed like for a few years. It's still artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all around that. I think the new thing which is coming in, it's of course the centralized finance, which is like a bit yet early stage technology for, I would call it traditional fintechs. Also like us, it's not traditional bank, but fintechs. Like fintech boom has been already for 10 years. And now a lot of fintechs are undergoing the regulatory processes to get some license and be regulated. So, but these basic technologies where you customize based on the data, they are still there. You have to adapt. Maybe the layer has changed because you are not using these technologies only for the customer specific things, but also to actually increase efficiency internally in the companies and to give some advantage for employees using these technologies as well.
Yeah, thank you. Robert, how it is in your business? Is it so important? What kind of technologies are you using, or how you're optimizing your activities? What are the strengths in your area?
Again, it's not so simple question, right? So there's different innovations, different technologies. Like Cédric mentioned, there's like decentralization is a big, like I would say, movement, right? I think another big movement I would see is a democratization of services. So like Twino offers you, you can actually invest now as an end user without having to have a private banker that would be sitting and asking you, do you have, I don't know, 100K in account before we start talking, right? And I would say there's a lot of these type of democratization levels happen all around the place. So investment is only one of those things. I think now every day people have access to different type of services and I would even say technologies that were, I would say, limited by that were available only to the wealthier population. So again, I think it's kind of combination of technologies and innovation kind of need to go hand in hand. So I think whatever any of the company innovates, it kind of needs some founding technology that is a driver for that. And I think for different companies, those are different technologies that provide you that, I would say, opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Cédric. In DeFi, maybe you can comment in this area how these innovations change, and maybe you can give some samples from this area.
So, I mean, having focused on this for a while, and I was an early team member at SumUp, which is one of the companies that built these like payment, these devices where you can accept credit card payments on your phone. And back then, I remember this was 2012 to 2013, so almost 10 years ago. Back then, it was an incredibly slow and painful process to integrate with banks, for example. And I mean, we had a number of engineers, I forgot how many, but just to build banking integrations. And I think that was a huge blocker to how we could build out the business and bring this to the masses. We had to very carefully select priorities and target markets. And what I'm seeing in the last 3-4 years since these regulations around PSD2 have been announced, I think that's something that's really accelerating the products and services that are being built in this space and that are using payment and financial data as their underlying foundation. And then at the same time, I think while peer-to-peer lending has been around for a seemingly long time, it's just now becoming a lot more available, both in the traditional sense that there's more businesses that now, there's more understanding on the regulatory side as to what you can do and how to do it, how to set it up in more jurisdictions. And then second, and we talked about it before, with decentralization, I think that's really unlocked peer-to-peer loans or loans in general for a lot of people. One of our portfolios, a company called Liquidity, just launched about a month ago, and they basically provide you with a service where you deposit collateral, in their case, Ether, and you get a stable coin out. And the fact that within the first 3 or 4 weeks, they've amassed about 4 billion in total value locked, meaning Ether that has been deposited to the value of about 4 billion. For me, it's just a huge sign how much traction there is and how much of a need there is for people to be able to leave their current social financial standard and be able to leverage themselves in order to get a loan and prove that they're credit worthy. So in that sense, I think the world is just accelerating in all these areas, and that's what's so exciting about fintech and DeFi in general at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's interesting because they are really evolutionating and the new services coming up, new ways of doing services, but how to understand, okay, so if I am an investor and I would like to see how this fintech market is developing and I want to invest, for example, what are those maybe key issues I have to look up for, how to understand and select those projects for investment for future?
Okay, yeah, so I'm an early stage investor, meaning I invest in the first couple of rounds typically, so pre-seed, seed, or sometimes a Series A. And at that point, yes, product and tech is very important, but the number one thing is team. So I sometimes joke that I should have studied psychology instead of electrical engineering and computer science, because in the end, but if I do my job right, then I spend my time talking to people, thinking about people, and helping people. And so in that sense, I think for us, typically, it's pretty simple to establish, is this generally possible? So it's not like rocket science projects where we're not sure if we can ever get to Mars. Typically, with the tools that all of us have nowadays, it's also easy to build a prototype within like 6 to 12 months and just show, is this feasible or not? The bigger question typically is regulatory based. So if we scale this to a certain point, who's going to come after us? Who's not going to be our friends? What kind of attack angles do they have? When do we need to get regulated? And if so, what does the process look like? And how likely is it that our plan will pan out? So there, I think Estonia is doing a lot of good work, right? Where they're giving a legal framework. Actually, it'd be interesting to hear about Latvia as well from all of you, how you see the environment there. But I just know that Estonia has a lot of their e-residency program and their company setup and the financial regulatory side. They provide a really stable environment for companies that are pushing the boundaries a bit. And then second, I didn't say this at the beginning, but I'm based in Zurich at the moment. And here, I think we have one of the most progressive regulatory frameworks and just legal foundations for anything DeFi and blockchain based. I think that's the second question that we typically look at, and those are two destinations where we typically tell founders to go and set up their company depending on what exactly they're working on.
Yeah, I think this regulatory issue is very, very crucial, because there are some industries that are very, let's say, well equipped in regulation part, or they are under the development, but there are still some open questions and where to go when we need to have together with regulators to sit and understand what is the business, how it works, what kind of risks for example, customer protection or whatever. As a regulatory, we see a lot of such questions in our innovation hub in Latvian regulator, and we have also developed a sandbox when you can come and see and try to test those solutions in order to understand, okay, how it really works and what are those risks, and where I have to maybe put a little bit more effort to get the business model done. Nauris, what would be your view? Oh, sure, sorry, Cédric, please, you would like to comment more.
No, I'm just curious because you mentioned the sandbox. Maybe you can say a few more words, because I think for some of the people watching this, it could be interesting as well, because you said there's like a sandbox environment that we can spin up. What does that look like?
Well, yeah, we have established in FCMC, Financial Capital Market Commission, the sandbox and Innovation Hub. So there are two tools in order to support fintechs in each and every stage of the development. In Innovation Hub, you can come, whatever you are a payment institution, you are open banking service provider, you are a peer-to-peer platform, any investment platform, whatever you are, you can get the consultancy from experts who are actually doing supervision work on daily basis. And they will guide you, okay, so what are you going to do, how you are going to, what is your idea? So you can come with a very, very initial stage with the idea in order to validate what kind of regulation will be applicable in this or that situation, in order to help to understand, because sometimes, as you mentioned before, those technology are going and developing faster than the regulation. And sometimes we need to understand, to seek, to evaluate risk and adapt. And it is the case where we can do this. And the sandbox, it is secured environment actually when the fintechs come up and test the business model. For example, you have not enough data, real data to work with the customers, but you have partner who would be ready to come with you in order to make this test. So you can come both together to us and to make those tests in secured environment, and we will discuss and help you to identify IT risk or risk concern regarding to the cyber security or the customer protection, because actually our role is to protect the customer in the end, because we are technology neutral. The matter is what kind of services you provide, what kind of value it's create for the financial market. And actually, if you need a license, it's a good point where to start. Any company who needs a license in the end, they can start their initial stage in a sandbox. And that, I think, it's a good actually for any kind of business when you are not sure, or you just want to innovate. You have created something new, or in insurtech or open banking or peer-to-peer, or even as a new service that you want to add into existing platform. For example, Twino today is selling clothes, but maybe after tomorrow they would decide to sell the insurance or anything else, or maybe different kind of other financial services, credit cards or whatever you want to test, okay, how it works. Yeah, that is the reason why I have established it, and to support the fintechs in the journey.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think that maybe Nauris, you can comment. What is your experience with in this area or investment area where you see those fintechs?
Sure. As we are going, like now, undergoing the licensing process, it's very fresh for us. And of course, it was hard to explain the peer-to-peer lending marketplace concept and business model as it's in its essence. But we at all times have felt welcomed, and at least that also FCMC is interested in what we are doing, and they are asking questions, and we are trying to also give our knowledge how it works, just to work together on this. So this is not only that they are regulating us and we are executing the regulation, but actually we are cooperating to try to find the best way how to cooperate and how to get into this regulatory framework. Of course, at some point, the fintechs has to get into this regulation. And I would say that in Latvian regulatory body like FCMC is in that sense, as I also mentioned, the sandbox and all this is kind of steps forward to help fintechs in the early stage to understand if it will work, and if what it will require from regulatory perspective. And currently, yeah, we are quite happy with how things are going, and there is no some issues which we cannot discuss and which we cannot solve working together. Yeah, so.
Yeah, thanks for your comment. Robert, would you like to add something more?
Yeah, so I would say if I have to compare the legal frameworks or even option laws or ease of doing business or government support with our closest neighbors, Estonia and Lithuania, I would say we are either better, but we're definitely not worse. What our northern neighbors are much better than we are at is marketing. So they do know how to sell these concepts. They do know how to explain them. That's also a reason why they have significantly better results. But other than that, I would say founding a startup, getting investment, doing business, getting licensed, or even the sandbox environments we talked about is everything we have gone through as a fintech. I have plenty of colleagues and friends all across Baltic. So I've always been proud of the process we have had here, but then again, I'm so jealous at how Estonians sell those ideas.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was good discussion, and maybe a last question from also my side, and I would like to hear your. If I want to start a fintech, what kind of support do you need in your areas? Not only from regulatory, but just you have white paper. What kind of support do you need in each and every step of the fintech?
I guess I can start on that because what also we have felt in the last years has changed in Latvian startup environment, that more and more experts, industry experts and guys and girls who knows how to build the businesses are coming in and sharing the knowledge. And I think this is something that was missing, at least in Latvian environment, for some while. Like in Estonia, there were Skype guys who just exited, and afterwards they just bring back the knowledge and funding and everything and invested in their startup community. Currently, I see that Latvia is also going in that way, and that helps a lot because you know that there are successful startups. You know there is guys who knows and girls who knows how to do things. Maybe the one point which is missing, that find more connection points, how to reach them out. Like if you are a new student and want to create some new startup, it's not that easy to get to that. But I think it's a potential for Latvia still to grow there, and I think we are going there. So.
Yeah, thank you, Nauris. Robert, your view on it.
I completely agree to what Nauris said and what Cédric before said. It's like everything is all about people, right? Regulation doesn't happen just because regulation happens. So does option laws doesn't happen just because option laws. It happens because there are people, they're active, they raise their voice, they express their concerns. And I think that is what defines an active community. And I think that is what helps to foster new companies popping up. And the Estonian example, and pretty much all across the Europe, you need this continuity of people coming out of this cycle and helping other people come in. So I don't know how to do it, but we need more people of the kind, and I think that will also foster like evolution in this whole ecosystem around here.
Yeah, it's crucial, especially in this ecosystem. You will have a strong funding partner in the middle who can actually support financially your ideas. And as Cédric probably is doing, selecting those projects, you can maybe share a little bit more, because I think I fully agree that this team, it's first, and that is number one, what you are evaluating and how to get to the success of this journey.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I think before we started the recording, we had a quick discussion about how COVID changed all our environments, in the sense that before, I think most companies were convinced that you need to have people in an office in order to be successful. You need to be in one and the same place. And I think there definitely needs to be time where you are in the same place, because I feel like there's very creative, big problems that you best solve if you're all in one place together. And you can go through those night shifts and you can motivate each other and you can just kind of play thought ping pong. But then for most of building a startup, or for most of the journey, I believe that now that we have access to the global workforce, and it's kind of been become the new status quo, that everyone accepts that there is remote work, I think that's a tremendous opportunity for entrepreneurs and founders to find the best talent, not in their city, not in their country, but all over the world. For example, with Tomahawk, we're kind of a startup as well, right? We're only 2 years young. We constantly think about how can we provide better services to startups? How can we find the right founders? What can we do to make the process as lean and efficient for them as possible? And we also do that with a remote team. So we have a few people here in Switzerland but from various nationalities. And then we have people in the Philippines, in the UK, in Portugal. We're a team of 10 people, and we've never met in one and the same place so far. That's definitely on our list, but COVID just hasn't made it possible yet. And so my philosophy for this is to see I believe that every challenge that we encounter is also a tremendous opportunity for growth and to improve ourselves, and offers lots of opportunities, especially for young startups that are a lot more lean and can much more quickly adapt to new environments. And I think that's the one biggest chance. And I think we'll see a lot more companies that might have a legal entity in one place or another, and they might choose to put it in Estonia or Latvia or Switzerland or Delaware. But then the people, I think, will not be based in one place for the entirety of their journey anymore. I think they will choose to spend some time in Europe or go to a target market, capture that market, and then maybe move on and win another market for when we talk about the business development side of things. And at the same time, what I've seen in our portfolio companies is that if you are a company that is open to these more flexible work environments, you can attract very good, for example, technical talent or design talent, because they do not only value money, they also value their personal freedom. And if you can create an environment for them where they can live where they want and they can travel a good amount of time, at least during the years where they want to do that, that can be a huge advantage over other companies and incumbents in the space.
Yeah, I think it's a great job what you're doing, actually, regarding this, creating this community for the fintech. It's very important when you have someone near you who can actually guide you a little bit, sharing the experience. And of course, the world will never be the same after the pandemic. And I think that this topic that we touch, this talent transfer, actually, and this knowledge sharing, it could be a different panel discussion as a topic, because for fintech it's very crucial, because you need it very fast and you need it in the exact moment in order to deliver your MVP and manage the cap tables and so on and so on. So the time is running, but I would like to thank you. Thanks all of you. I think Cédric, Nauris, and Robert, we have a very good discussion. Thank you very much for your opinions and experience sharing in this area. And I wish you next part will be hopefully even more interesting than today's our discussion. So thank you very much, and have a good event until the end of the day.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.